Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker. Great to have you along this week. And honestly, I've got more show than I have time. So we're just going to get right into it this week. We've got more football coming up before the show ends, but we're going to start with Hancock Panther football because these guys have been on a roll, and they join me today, three of them: Garrett Golden, Ethan Souders, and Evan Wachter. Welcome to the show, guys. I feel like I should have a hat on. I'm not part of the hat club here today, but it's good to have you here. Congratulations on the win last Friday over Massanutten by a score of 42-13. And Garrett, tell me a little bit about the turnaround that this team has made. First 5 games, no wins, outscored pretty handily. Last 3 games, nothing but wins, scoring all kinds of points. What's made the difference?
Really, I think we've been playing more as a team. We combined all our athleticism and work ethic. We just all put it out on the field, try to make a turnaround.
How difficult is it when you only have a limited number of players to use because you're never coming off the field? Offensively, defensively, special teams, you're always out there. So how much more difficult is that?
It's tiring. It's very, very tiring, but practice, work hard, never give up.
And Ethan, when you do have success with all of the work that you put in and all of the time that you spend, how much better is that?
Oh, it's a lot better. We've been working really hard at practice. I know, speaking for us three, because we're seniors, that wasn't the way that we wanted to start the season. I think we kind of realized that we had more potential and we could play better. And like Garrett said, we've just been playing as a team. But yeah, it's a lot more fun, on Friday nights when you're not going home sleeping the next day. And I wish we could have done that, but no, it's a lot better. And
I wanted to ask you about that too. Only 1 game left in your high school career. What will the emotions be like a week from this Friday?
It's going to be tough. I know. It seems like yesterday. I was a freshman coming up, and then I don't even want to think about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Evan, you're the team leader in tackles and sacks, kind of leading the way on the defensive side. As I mentioned early in the season, teams really getting the better of you, but from your perspective on the defensive side, what's been the turnaround there?
I'd say turnaround is, as a team, we're finally connecting on all cylinders because I've been playing well, but the other side's really picking up. We have a freshman on the other side, defensive end, so him starting to get more game time experience really helps with that.
The defense seems to be applying a lot of pressure to the other teams here in these last 3 games in particular. I mean, how good is it to be able to go out there and kind of dictate what that other team does and impose your will defensively?
Really feels good because, in previous games, it was kind of, they would drive up the field on us and it honestly didn't feel good at all. But now that we can dictate it and stop them pretty much at our will, it feels pretty nice and we can get a turnaround on offense.
Garrett, you lead the team in receptions, touchdown receptions, 2-point conversions. How important is it to lead by example on this team because you guys are 3 of just 8 seniors?
Every game I go out there trying to make a new goal. And when we have a sophomore, his brother, he's a very good athlete, and he's competition for me. We try to compete with each other, and it just pushes me even harder and harder.
Ethan, I don't think there's any doubt when you look at the statistics that you put up this season that you've given 100% effort without question. Over 800 rushing yards, nearly 200 yards receiving, 350 yards passing, accounted for 13 touchdowns. How would you sort of summarize the season that you've had?
I mean, I'm happy with it, but it all comes from both sides of the field. Defense reflects on offense. When our line plays well, backs do well. Not just me. Our fullback, he's a very athletic kid. When our line blocks, we're successful. When our receivers run good routes, our quarterback throws a good ball, makes the game flow a lot smoother. But I have to give it all to Evan. He's been with me ever since we've been in 3rd grade, and he's helped a lot. So, and I speak for the rest of the backs. When our linemen, they've been playing really well the last 3 games, and just not my stats, but the scores show. So when the line plays well, the backs do well, vice versa. Backs the whole hard, it works out well.
Evan, you look at the statistics that Ethan's put up, and he gives you a lot of credit. What exactly is the mindset that you have to put in order to be successful? Because there are a lot of bumps in the road and a lot of things unique to Hancock football. So tell me a little bit about that and the experience and what you're going to miss when this comes to an end.
It's honestly play by play. You can't just either if it was good or bad, you can't reflect on it. You just got to keep rolling. You know, all three of us play every single down, so you can't reflect on one play. You have to just keep going and just say if you made a bad block, you just got to forget it and keep going. And one thing I will miss is just the tight bond we've gathered. I mean, when we do well, it feels nice, you know, to have each other's back. And I played different roles this year. I've moved to fullback, and it feels nice to lead Ethan in for touchdowns and stuff, or block for Garrett, and make sure the ball is going to get there. So it kind of feels nice.
Yeah. Well, you guys have had a tremendous comeback in this season. I think, you know, no matter what happens a week from Friday, have to be proud of the way that you've made the most of your senior season. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be back right after this. Going to look ahead at the soccer playoffs. Coach Rick Alshire from North Hagerstown here to preview the girls in just a moment.
Champions are not merely born. They're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
When you're sick or hurt and can't be seen by your regular doctor, you just want to feel better faster. Make a convenient appointment or simply walk into Meritus Urgent Care, where you can receive attention from our caring professionals, from sprains and strains to sore throats, earaches, and other ailments that are not life-threatening. Meritus Urgent Care has you covered with on-site labs and x-rays and much more. We're conveniently located on Pennsylvania Avenue in Hagerstown at the Sylvania Center. Feel better faster with Meritus Urgent Care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Well, it's a great time of year. The playoffs are upon us. The postseason just kind of snuck up there, and now all of a sudden it's here. And I'm joined by North Hagerstown girls soccer head coach Rick Alshire. Now, as we get set to break down the brackets a little bit, and Coach, for you, it's been a great season to this point. Tesla Cup champions, so you win the county title.
Yes.
And 9-4. Better record than perhaps you might have foreseen going into the season just because of the tough schedule. You get a number 3 in 3A West Section 2. You'll face a team you're very familiar with, the number 6 seed in South Hagerstown, a team that comes in at 2-11. How do you get your team motivated for something like this, or is it just self-motivating at this point?
Well, I think at this point, because this is the best time of the year. The league games are great, but this is the best time of the year for all. You know, the girls are excited about coming into the playoffs.
What are your points of emphasis with the team as the playoffs roll around?
Basically, one game at a time. You know, we can't overlook South to get to another team, TJ. You know, because 2 years ago, South played us in the playoffs, went to double overtime, 1-0. So, and I keep reminding those girls that every day.
So you kind of learned your lesson with that one, and you hope that they did too. But
right.
In looking ahead, should you advance past South Hagerstown, there are some teams lurking out there who are higher seeds that have wins over you already this season. So what kind of adjustments will you make going forward there? And is it good to have seen these teams already because they've seen you too?
Yeah, I think we should be playing TJ. I don't know if we got to make a lot of adjustments because during the regular season, you know, we played them quite well, 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's just making sure the girls are staying focused, you know, and ready to play on game day.
Well, let's look at some of the other playoff matchups here. We'll come back to your North Hagerstown team. But over in 1A West Section 2, Smithsburg is the number 1 seed there. Enters having won 9 of its last 11 matches, including a 1-0 victory at Mountain Ridge, who is Section 1's top seed. The Leopards earn a first-round bye, but the defending region champs will have been idle for 3 weeks by the time they host the 4-5 winner in Brunswick or FSK next Tuesday. Is that the way you'd like to go into the playoffs with so much time off?
No way. And I'm sure Coach Delamay is thinking the same thing. but I'm sure that he'll have them ready. However, in that 1A West, you're looking at Smithburg, Clear Spring, Boonesboro, and I know Brunswick's sitting over there with the 3-7-4 record, but Brunswick could surprise.
Well, you mentioned those other teams, and two of them, Washington County teams with excellent records this season. Clear Spring, the number 2 seed, 11-3. You got the 3rd-seeded Boonesboro Warriors, who come in with 8 wins themselves. It's almost like a mini county championship, and in years past it really was, because Williamsport was part of that mix too. But these are teams very familiar with each other. And again, boy, that just breeds that kind of intensity. And when you get into the playoffs, you got that ratcheted up anyway.
You got that ratcheted up. And luckily, I got to see the Clear Spring-Smithburg game, and also got to see the Boonesboro-Smithburg game. So it's definitely going to be a good fight for that championship.
Smithsburg last year getting all the way to the 1A state semifinals against Sparrows Point, who's just had that on lock the last several years. Over in 2A West Section 2, mentioned Williamsport, the 5 seed there. They had 14 wins a year ago, only 3 this year, but they're a team that at times seems to be able to find it, but injuries have just really cost them pretty much throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I think they had 2 major injuries.
Yeah.
So you look at what they've done. They took us to a 3-2 games, and they played us quite well. So they could make some noise in that.
And they get another opponent with just 3 wins in Middletown, but you can never sleep on Middletown.
Never sleep on Middletown.
But the thing for Williamsport is that maybe they can take a little solace in the fact that 2 of their wins this year came on the road, which is where they will be.
That's where they're going to be
in the playoffs. Now, for your team, the quality core of the 6 seniors that you have there, how much can you rely, and will you rely on their experience and leadership?
Listen, I've relied on them all year. There's 6 seniors that are just like having 6 coaches on the field.
How much confidence do you have in this team going into the playoffs?
Oh, I got quite a bit of confidence going into the playoffs. I've got a couple of the girls that plays down the road on the club teams with the Linganores and the TJs. So our girls are ready. And we're just going to take it one game at a time. And again, this is the best part of the season right here, playoffs.
Well, Coach, best of luck coming up on Thursday. Can't wait to see your girls in action, and thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm back right after this. I've got Coach Lynn Mills from Clear Spring. We'll talk about the boys' soccer playoffs in just a moment.
No ropes. No pyro. No entrance music. No signs in the crowd. It's WWC, the Williamsport Wrestling Club. For over 25 years, we've been promoting amateur youth wrestling in the community. Good sportsmanship as well as overall health is fostered through this exciting sport. WWC is fun for the whole family.
At Hamilton Nissan, we know you've got places to go, so let's travel together. The Nissan Rogue, plenty of room for you, and plenty of room for him. With nearly 40 cubic feet of cargo space, everyone will be using the Rogue for everything, all the time. And on occasion, you'll find an evening for yourselves, and the Nissan Rogue will be right there with you. Hamilton Nissan, let's travel together. Come see us on the Dual Highway.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with more soccer playoff previews, and joining me to take a look at the boys' brackets, Clear Spring head coach Lynn Mills. Welcome back to the show, Coach.
Thank you, Wes.
Well, if you're here, it means that you've had a good season to this point, and to say that you've had a good season is a bit of an understatement. 11-1, Tesla Cup champions, and the number 1 seed in 1A West Section 2. So, having said all of that, does that just more or less put a bullseye on you as you head into the playoffs?
Pretty much. I think everybody's probably gunning for us right now.
Well, they're going to have to come with everything they've got, because these numbers are astounding this season. 54 goals scored, 4 goals allowed, 10 shutouts by your Clear Spring Blazers. What should we be more impressed with, the offense or the defense?
I'm going to go with the defense.
Have you seen anything like this from a Clear Spring team? This is your 6th season there. Have you seen a team that's been this well-rounded and this good?
No. This is the best team I've seen definitely in the last 6 years. I'd go back further than that, but I've only had it 6, but it's without a doubt.
Now, the first game you'll play in the playoffs will come after a bye that you've earned. Next Tuesday, it'll be a section semifinal, and you already own a win over Smithsburg, who could potentially be an opponent, or FSK, whom you haven't seen. You've also seen Boonesboro, Brunswick, and Catoctin, all of those teams in your section. As a matter of fact, the 4 teams that you played to this point, you've outscored by an aggregate of 18-0. So the question is, how do you motivate your team, make sure that they're mentally focused on playing teams that they've already pretty much dominated?
I'm preaching to them just one game at a time. That's what it takes. We worry about Tuesday, and once Tuesday's over, we go from there.
Well, that will be the first step in potentially getting to someplace where no Washington County boys team has been in 20 years. We haven't had a state champion from the county. I know I'm really jumping ahead of myself, and I'm doing this. Coach didn't have anything to do. I'm saying this. But, I'm very excited about that, and we'll see how all of that plays out. Let's look at some of the other teams and the other classifications. First off, in 2A West Section 2, a team that you're familiar with in Williamsport. Williamsport just coming off an ugly loss to your team, 6-0. They're 7-4-3 as they enter the playoffs, but they've still gone unbeaten in 7 of their last 9, but they seem to have an issue right now on the back line in particular, really depleted there. And I talked to Coach Downs, and he said, we're going to try to change it up. We're going to put 4 back there instead of our traditional 3, and they'll get Seneca Valley to begin, but you have to be a little bit cautious about that, Coach, because even though you look over there and you see a team with no wins during the season, number 1, they're a Montgomery County team. Right. Number 2, they're just moving down from 3A to 2A. So they were playing tougher competition in years past. So Williamsport will be at home for that one. But what's your feeling on that team? I mean, how do you coach up a team who just lost the way that they lost to your team?
Well, I mean, he's got a lot of injuries in that backfield. And it's, he's a good coach. I'm sure he'll have a plan going in. Like I said, it starts a new week with the playoffs. Yeah. Nobody has any wins or losses. So even though they don't have a win, it's something you really got to watch. So, see how that goes.
Yeah, and the winner of that Seneca Valley Williamsport match would then play the number 2 seed Damascus next Tuesday. Over in 3A West Section 2, we get an intra-city matchup. 3rd-seeded North Hagerstown at 5-5-2. Lost its last 2 matches by a score of 11-2, so the Hub's sort of limping in, and they draw a team that they've had success against in South Hagerstown. They defeated the Rebels 2-0 3 weeks ago. Do you like seeing a team that you've seen already? I asked Coach Alshire this earlier when he was here for the girls preview. Do you like that, or does it bother you that they've seen you too?
That doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Really?
Okay, yeah, because they're going to have to do something different to beat you if you've beaten them the first time, right? So the onus is on them. But as we're talking about, this is a whole new season now, and it comes down to elimination. And Mountain Ridge is the number 1 seed on the other side of your bracket. You got to win over them recently, but if you're to see them again, it's going to be on turf, and it's going to be in their neck of the woods. Is that the most uneasy feeling that you have right now with this?
It will be one of our tougher games, I think. But like I said, we're just looking at Tuesday right now. How
do you guard against confidence becoming overconfidence with the season that you've had?
That's extremely tough. We had a wake-up call there when we lost to North, and I'm glad it happened then instead of waiting until now. So I let them know each day that each game is starting out at 0, and we got to go out at 110% every time.
Well, I think you've got a very special group there, and hopefully they'll wind up doing very special things. Looking for a deep run into the playoffs, Coach. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay, no problem.
I'll be back right after this. I've got a little of most of the rest of the sports left. I've got football, cross country, and volleyball all coming up in just a moment.
Wanna be one, number 1, it's gotta be fun. Wanna be one, number 1, it's gotta be fun. punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Now, after a brief soccer interlude, it's back to football. And in his 346th game, Clayton Anders became Washington County's all-time winningest head coach when his Boonesboro Warriors bested pesky Concordia Prep on Saturday 55-26. No matter the final margin, it took everything Boonesboro had to nail down historic win number 206 for Anders. The Warriors started fast, hitting Concordia Prep from all angles, and even got a touchdown from their special teams. But through the early part of the third quarter, the hosts seemed to always have an answer, even if some appeared to be luckier than skillful. Leading just 28-26, a minute 19 into the second half, Boonesboro finally drew the line, and the Warriors did it with their line, winning at the line of scrimmage as the Warriors outscored Concordia Prep 27-0 to close the game. And from there, the celebration was on. Fittingly, Anders passed legendary Smithsburg head coach Carol Reed to ascend to the top of the Mount Rushmore of winningest county coaches. And with Saturday's victory, the Warriors improved to 5-3 on the season, assuring them of their 7th straight non-losing year and 13th in the last 14. Boonesboro needs to keep winning to have a shot at extending its playoff streak to 3. And that means having to face one of the county's hottest teams on Friday when Williamsport visits Warrior Field. The Wildcats are rolling after notching their 4th win in a row, 21-13 last Friday over South Hagerstown at School Stadium. Williamsport spoiled South's homecoming despite falling behind 7-0 by the time the game was just 16 seconds old. But the Wildcats were unfazed, and on the ensuing possession, facing 4th and 16 at the Rebel 23-yard line, they used a little razzle-dazzle with Ryan McLaughlin finding Jeremy Snow for the tying score. While South left some opportunities to change the game slip through their hands, Mr. Takeaway, McLaughlin, took matters firmly into his in the second quarter, first picking off a Rebel pass inside the Williamsport 35, and later pouncing on a South fumble inside the Wildcat 30. Williamsport went to work immediately after the fumble recovery with another dose of offensive deception when Lincoln Ball connected with McLaughlin for 49 yards on the very next play. Kayvon Carter would then cash in from 7 yards out, and the Cats led 14-7. With the score still 14-7 late in the third quarter, South finally created a break for itself when Chase Maloney recovered Jacob Ball's fumble at the Rebel 33-yard line. South Hagerstown proceeded to put together a methodical 14-play drive that included some key plays by quarterback Timmy Townsend with his feet before he used his arm to hook up with Jordan Jones to pull the Rebels within a point. Townsend then used his foot to kick the tying extra point, except that a late personal foul penalty against South took the point off the board and backed him up 15 yards for the retry, and this time the attempt was short, enabling Williamsport to remain in front. The Wildcats then authored their own long drive, using 11 plays to cover 61 yards, capped off by a 3-yard run by Carter, and with the point after, led 21-13. But 4 minutes and 40 seconds still remained, and South gained 36 yards on its first play after the kickoff on a catch and run by Nate Moore. The Rebels would use the passing game to get all the way to the Wildcats 16, but on 4th and 2, Townsend and Moore failed to click, and Williamsport took over on downs. However, the Cats couldn't eat up the final 3:19, and Lincoln Ball saved any extra drama by stretching to save a bad snap and getting a good punt away on 4th down. Then it was Janari Carroll's turn to preserve the victory, sacking Townsend to effectively seal Williamsport's first win over South since 2009, dropping the Rebels to 3-5 and out of playoff contention, while the Wildcats raised their record to 6-2 and moved into the 4th and final postseason slot in the ultra-tough 2A West region. Like Williamsport, Smithsburg won its 4th consecutive game on Friday. The Leopards buried James Buchanan 56-19 with an avalanche of first-half points. Connor McEwen scored 5 of Smithsburg's 8 touchdowns in the game's opening 24 minutes. It was the junior quarterback's second 5 TD performance during Smithsburg's win streak, a 4-game stretch during which he's found the end zone a remarkable 14 times altogether. Now 4-3, the Leopards travel to 5-2 Northern Garrett on Friday. North Hagerstown evened its mark at 4-4 with what head coach Greg Staines called an ugly win, but one that goes in the W column nevertheless. Ryan Clark threw 2 picks and only completed 7 passes against Frederick, but 2 of those went for touchdowns, and defensive lineman Lane Hammond returned an interception for the other score as North put all of its points on the board in the second quarter en route to a 20-14 victory. The Hubs now sit 5th in the 3A West playoff standings and celebrate homecoming this week with a Thursday night matchup against 4-4 Spring Mills. 4s are wild for Clear Spring. Last Friday marked the 4th straight game the Blazers scored just 1 touchdown and the 4th in which they allowed at least 30 points. The result? Clear Spring's 4th consecutive loss. This one 37-8 to Southern Garrett. The Blazers fell to 1-7 and host 6-2 Catoctin in their home finale on Friday. Last Saturday, St. James already had the deck stacked against them. The Saints were hosting a Flint Hill team that had handed them a defeat in each of their last 11 meetings to begin with. But factor in all of the injuries St. James had sustained the past couple of weeks, and winning became a nearly impossible mission. Just surviving was dubious. John Mechie managed 7 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown, but both he and leading rusher Jalen Anderson ended up sidelined with ankle injuries before the game was over in a 48-15 setback. The wounded Saints, now 6-2, travel to play 4-3 Murray Friday night at Woodrow Wilson High School. Back with cross country and volleyball right after this.
Antietam Broadband's Flight Gigabit service is ultra-high-speed internet delivered by a direct fiber connection. We are one of the few communities in the country to have it. But what does it mean? It means businesses will want to move here, which means more jobs, better jobs. It means access to world-class infrastructure for healthcare, education, and nonprofits. It means enhanced social and economic well-being. That's why it won the 2017 Leading Edge Award from the Chamber of Commerce. Flight Gigabit from Antietam Broadband, changing how people connect.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Last Friday afternoon at Boonesboro, the Central Maryland Conference Cross Country Championships were contested. While the large and small schools competed in the same races, there were titles to be won within the overall titles based on division designations. Perhaps the one individual county runner with a realistic shot at becoming an overall champion was coming off a 6th place performance the previous Saturday at the Frank Kaiser Invitational on the very same course. North Hagerstown's Nate Neely put himself in a much better position on Friday. The Hub junior vied for the lead the whole way, but in the final 200 yards, fellow junior Michael Belmaggio of Linganore outkicked Neely to beat him to the finish by about 3 seconds. Neely's time was about 2.5 seconds slower than when he ran at the Frank Kaiser. Teammate Brandon Gassaway was 4th, helping North to a 6th place finish in the 15-team field. Boonesboro paced the county by coming in 3rd overall, and the Warriors won the Gambrel or small school division title. Henry Schmidt led Boonesboro's contingent, but had to settle for 2nd behind Smithsburg's Garrett Kirchhoff for the individual Gambrel crown by 0.4 of a second. In the girls' race, North Hagerstown's Phoebe Meehan surprised many, and maybe even herself, by finishing 1st among all county runners. The Hub freshman was 4 seconds faster than defending county champ Cameron Harper of Boonesboro and finished 21 seconds ahead of city champion Emily Alexander of South. Meehan was 3rd in the Spires division, while Alexander was 4th, and Harper placed 4th in the Gambrel standings, where she led her Boonesboro team to a 2nd place finish. Harper and the Warrior girls and boys will seek to defend their county titles this Thursday at Clear Spring. Last Thursday at Smithsburg, the Leopards put their 4-match win streak up against North Hagerstown's 2-match win streak as the CMC division winners squared off in their regular season matchup. The Hubs came in having won the previous 6 matches against the Leopards, but Smithsburg seemed intent on putting an end to that string from the outset. And the Leopards set the tone in the opening game by reeling off 16 of the final 22 points to capture set 1 25-16. They used the same formula in the second, turning a 9-8 deficit into a 25-12 triumph thanks to a 17-3 run to close the set. However, closing out the match wouldn't be nearly as easy. The Hubs called on their pride and competitive spirit to take the lead in the third at 3-2 and never trailed the rest of the way en route to claiming set number 3 25-17. The fourth set became a tug-of-war in a game where neither team could spurt away by more than 3 points. North snapped an 18-all tie by scoring 4 straight and would go on to hold off Smithsburg 25-23 to level the match at 2 sets apiece. For the 4th time in 5 years, the Hubs and Leopards played a deciding 5th set, and for the first time in those 5 years, Smithsburg successfully turned North Hagerstown back, finishing off the Hubs 15-10. So with a 6-game losing streak to North Hagerstown vanquished, Smithsburg packed up its confidence and took it to Hood College on Saturday as the two rivals met for the second time in 2 days, this time for the CMC Championship. And this one would not be nearly as competitive. After Smithsburg squeezed out a 25-22 first set win, the Leopards cruised from there. Smithsburg made short work of the Spires Division champs in the second game, 25-14, and unlike Thursday, showed a killer instinct in the third to complete the sweep, 25-19. Coach Rachel Brashear's Leopards finished the regular season with matches this week against a pair of teams with 9 wins each in Urbana and Linganore. The 3-time defending 1A state champs now have 12 themselves, including 6 in a row. Speaking of the postseason, Heritage Academy, who handed Smithsburg one of its 2 losses earlier this year, won its 3rd straight MDCC tournament title last Saturday by defeating Calvary Christian 3-1. The Eagles will be the number 1 seed in the Maryland Christian School Tourney Saturday at Anne Arundel Christian Academy. Next week on the show, the state public school volleyball playoff draw, state golf results, I promise, plus a recap of county cross country, an update on the soccer playoffs, and Week 9's football. That's all next time. Thanks for watching this time, and I'll see you then on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers.